All right, good morning and greetings from South Georgia, USA. Greetings to the entire world. We are here on a beautiful morning of April the 15th, 2025, coming to you from the studio in the greenhouse. And I'll give you a little weather report here. It's going to be about 73 degrees today. It's a little chilly right now, partly cloudy sky, going to be a little windy, but a beautiful day. A beautiful day, and of course, in the greenhouse, it will get upwards to 90 degrees today in here. I have done a little preparation this morning in my effort to declare the name of Jesus Christ before men. And as I have said many times before, I have accepted this job from Jesus upon my reading of the Bible, where he says, "Declare my name before men, and I will declare your name in heaven." And I have, at this time in my life, accepted that work, and I am trying to do it. I'm going to talk about, I've got a note here, come out of Mystery Babylon. Mystery Babylon, that's from Revelation 18:4. What does it mean to come out of Mystery Babylon? It's a mystery. And of course, Babylon is the opposite of God's kingdom. It's the worldly kingdoms of the world. It represents the kingdom of Satan. And we're told to come out of that kingdom, Mystery Babylon. Well, why doesn't it just say come out of Babylon? Why does it say Mystery Babylon? Well, there must be a mystery there, something that's not evident, something that is difficult to see. And I'm going to tell you what I think, one of the things that I think that it means. I think coming out of Mystery Babylon means the false teaching of the church. And by the church, I mean the false church. Just as there is a real church, and a church is a congregation, a group of people, there is also a false church, a group of people, but they often represent themselves as a building. You know, they want you to think of church as being an actual building. Let's go to church. Well, a congregation can't be a building, and the meaning of church is a congregation. Mystery Babylon, the false church, seeks to burden the people with legalism, spiritual confusion, spiritual hypocrisy. And so they are basically beating up on the people. Now, who are they beating up on? Well, it doesn't matter if they beat up on the non-believers, because the non-believers are non-believers. Am I suggesting that Mystery Babylon, the false church, has a bunch of members that are not believers? Yes, I'm suggesting that. I'm saying that the non-believers, non-true believers, go to the church of Mystery Babylon. And I said here that the Mystery Babylon church, they don't call themselves Mystery Babylon Church. They call themselves by the names that we know of, Protestant churches. Baptist, the different ones, Presbyterian. But it's a mystery in that people don't realize that they are really Satan's church. Now, I don't mean all churches are Satan's church. Some of them are and some of them aren't. And I say they burden the people with legalism, spiritual confusion, and trauma. Now, I'm not worried about burdening the people that don't believe. They're not believers. It's the believers that go to these churches that the devil seeks to burden with legalism. Now, the word legalism is conducted by professionals known as lawyers. And you will notice and think back that the religious leaders referred to in the Bible at Jesus' time were called scribes, Pharisees, and lawyers. And there was a couple of other names. These were different branches of the legalism. And they also sought to burden the people with legalism. They were teaching that the way to heaven was to keep the law. The law is a legal term. And so they had come up with all of these different customs, the Sabbath, washing of the hands a certain way, keeping of the feasts of God. And they were teaching that if you did these things, then you were keeping the law, or you were legally correct. And this is the people that Jesus confronted when he went into the temple. They were the legal church, or the church that burdened people with legalism. They were, in effect, Mystery Babylon of their time. They were the false church. They were really the church of Satan. And Jesus said as much. He said, your father is the devil, the father of lies. They accused him of working miracles from the devil. So they swapped it around. He said they were from the devil, and they said he was from the devil. And I guess the well-known comeback with Jesus was that I'm doing miracles and saving people and healing people, and that's good. And so if I'm doing good things by the spirit of the devil, which the devil doesn't do good things, then the kingdom of Satan has fallen. That was his comeback. Now I'm going to, let's see if I can get another. This is a very difficult thing to explain because Mystery Babylon fools most people. And I'm talking about people that believe in God, supposed believers. The people that go to church. Now, anybody that thinks, okay, going to church is a legalism. And there's an expression around here that you hear often when you witness to people, if you get to talking to people about Jesus. The conversation will come quickly around to, what church do you go to? Well, see, that's a legalism. They are implying that you must go to church to be right with God. What church do you go to? Well, if you're going to the Mystery Babylon church, then you're not, that doesn't make you right with God. No matter what church you go to, it doesn't make you right with God. Justified is the way the Bible puts it. You're justified. And you're righteous. Not because you go to church. That's a legalism. Keeping the Sabbath to the Jews is a legalism. The Jews now, the Orthodox Jews, they're legalists still. Of course, many Jews now have come to faith in Christ. It's happening pretty fast, and it's happening all over the world. What is it that Jesus wants from us? Well, he said it. Believe that I came from heaven. Believe that he died on the cross and was raised himself from the dead. That's the works. That's the things that you have to do to be saved by Jesus. Not go to church. Not tithe 10%. Not give to St. Jude's Hospital. Now, it doesn't mean you shouldn't give to St. Jude's. It means that you're not going to be saved by doing that. If you feel like, if you have a burden on your heart to give money, if you have surplus to help St. Jude's Hospital, then that's fine. But the legalism part of it is that people think that by doing that, they're going to be saved, that God is going to love them and save them. But I'm going to tell you what God really wants. And you'll find that in the Old Testament in Hosea 6:6. And Hosea says, speaking for God, and God is saying, I desire mercy and not sacrifice. The sacrificial system of the ancient Hebrews was to kill lambs and burn them on the altar, spill their blood, and that was a sacrifice. That was something you gave to God as a sacrifice. It was a sacrifice because you'd rather take that lamb yourself and sell it, for your own use. He desires mercy and not sacrifice. So sacrifice represents anything that you think you're doing for God to be saved. It could be going to church. It could be I stopped drinking. It could be I didn't murder anybody. All right, let me read from my notes here just a little bit. Jesus, according to Isaiah 61:1, came to bind up the brokenhearted and to proclaim liberty to the captives. Brokenhearted, everybody knows what that means. It means you're sad, you're not happy, and you're not joyful. Bind up the brokenhearted and proclaim liberty to the captives. Now, he's going to proclaim liberty to the captives. Now, what are these people captured by? When you're captured, you're caught in a trap. He's going to do two things. Bind up your broken heart. He's going to make your heart happy again, joyful, peaceful. And he's going to proclaim liberty to the captives. Captured by what? Trap. It's the trap of legalism. Works-based theology. Giving to the church. Going to church. I'm not saying it's bad to go to church, but you're not saved by doing that. You may be caught. Now, we're going back to a trap. I used to trap coyotes because I had animals and I had to keep the coyotes out of the property. Now, sometimes the coyote would just get caught by 1 foot right there, and they couldn't get out of it. They were caught just by 1 toe almost. You may be caught by 1 toe, but that is all it takes to capture you, the captives. He's going to set at liberty the captive, proclaim liberty. He isn't saying he's not going to actually get you out of a trap. He's going to tell you how to get out of that trap. It's a trap of your mind. It's a trap of something you're thinking incorrectly about. And that trap I'm suggesting to you is the trap of legalism. It's the same trap that those ancient Hebrew religious leaders were doing. They were the lawyers. Legalism. The scribes. They were the guys that wrote down the laws and that kept all that. The Pharisees. These were the religious leaders. And they were trapped. They were caught in that trap. And they thought that by keeping certain customs, Sabbath, religious ceremonies, and all these things, that they were saved by God. And they were caught in that trap. Mystery Babylon, I'm saying, is that trap. Now I'm going to go to 2 Timothy 4:0-3. And it says that in the end times that people will seek teachers who tell them what their itching ears want to hear. Their ears want to hear this works-based salvation. Now, this is why works-based salvation is not the truth. That's Mystery Babylon. That's Satan's religion. Because works-based salvation, I will call it comparison-based salvation. Because if you're looking to your works, I give 10% of all that I earn to the church. I tithe. That's a work. But that has to be compared to somebody that doesn't give 10% in order for you to think that it's good. It's by comparison. This is judging. And Jesus said, "Judge not, that you be not judged." So if you are in Mystery Babylon and you're captive there, you necessarily have to judge or compare your works to other people's works. Like somebody saying, "I never murdered anybody." And that's a common one you'll see. When I noticed, I have this guy that I watch that goes and talks to Jewish people over in Israel and tries to tell them about Jesus. And he asks them, they say, God will save you if you're good enough. And they will often say this, I never murdered anybody. And that means they have to compare themselves with somebody that did commit murder. So by comparison, but God's standard is perfection. If you're going to be saved by your works, you have to be perfect. And there's no man that's perfect. There are some that are better than others. I didn't say good. I said there are some that are better than others. There are people that have not murdered anybody. But in God's eyes, they're not better, because God's standard is perfection. And the only man that was ever that way was Jesus. Jesus is the only human being that never sinned. He was a human being, but he was also God himself. He had two beings, the human side, and he had the God side. He was God and man. Comparison-based religion or judging, you make a judgment. I'm better than that person. I haven't done that. I don't drink alcohol. I hear people say that. Oh, I've never touched a drop of alcohol. Therefore, I'm better than the person that has, that's sitting around, staggering around in the morning drunk, or that goes to bars at night. I don't go to bars. Therefore, I'm better than them. That's a comparison. And that's what I say is the trap of Mystery Babylon. That you think that by being relatively better than somebody else, I'm saying relatively better, and you may be relatively better, but relatively better doesn't mean that you're good. Compare your works or situation with someone else who is in worse sin than you. Like I said, I have never murdered anyone. So you compare yourself to those who have murdered. That's judging, because you have to judge or compare yourself to them. Well, the fact is, we're not the judge. If you judge, you will be judged. That's what Jesus said. Okay, so how do you not judge? Well, it's easy to say, but maybe not easy to do. The way you do it is you say, hey, I'm not better than that person. Now, there's a well-known saying. All right. This is some of the ways that people judge. I go to church and they go out to bars. Therefore, I am better than them. But there's a well-known saying, everybody's heard it, there, but by the grace of God go I. That's not judging. You're saying the path that they took through the bars and my path going to church, I'm not better than them. All men have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Many believers are caught in the trap of legalism. They're caught by 1 foot, maybe, or they might be caught more than that. But you're caught just the same in the trap. Jesus came to proclaim liberty to the captives, those that were captured in the trap of legalism or works-based religion. There, but by the grace of God, go I. Going to bars can be forgiven, but judging cannot be forgiven, but it can be stopped. You don't need to be forgiven for judging people if you quit doing it. But going to bars can be forgiven. You can even be forgiven for going to bars if you don't quit going to bars. Now, it's a miserable lifestyle. You're killing yourself. You're messing up your liver. You're spending your money. But I would suggest that there would be many a person that goes to bars and drinks alcohol that will be forgiven, even if they are at a bar when they die, based on one thing, and that is, do they have mercy? I desire mercy, but not sacrifice. And that's why Jesus said that the prostitutes and the tax collectors, and I'll add the drunks at the bar, will go into heaven before you. And he was speaking to the legalistic, to the lawyers, the religious leaders. The people that hang out, the prostitutes and the tax collectors, who, by the way, they were the most hated people in Israel at the time of Jesus, will go into the kingdom of heaven before you, talking to the legal people. Why is that? Because he desires mercy and not sacrifice. Mercy is, don't look down on people. There but by the grace of God go I. I'm sorry that that person is an alcoholic and struggling, but I'm not better than them or good. It might be a good thing that I'm not a drunk, but it doesn't make me better than them. That is their path through life. I imagine it shocked those guys for him to say the prostitutes would go into the kingdom of heaven before them, because they thought they were it. They dressed in fancy clothes. They were wealthy, by the way. They appeared to be religious. They had the robes on. They were clean. They went to church all the time, went to the synagogue. They gave 10% of their income. And by the way, that was no hard deal for them because they got paid a whole lot anyway, so they weren't struggling with money. And they were saying, this is why I'm going to be saved. But they had to compare themselves with the prostitute. That's what Jesus was saying. And when they judge the other person, then Jesus said, judge not that ye be not judged. Turn it around. If you judge people, you will be judged. I'm not going to be able to have mercy on you if you judge people. I'm going to treat you the way you treated other people. Judge not that ye be not judged. Come out of Mystery Babylon. Get out of the trap that's got you caught by the foot, the legalism trap. How you going to get out of it? You're going to confess Jesus Christ. You're going to say, yes, Jesus, I can save me from this trap that I'm in. Save me from this trap. As long as you're judging people, you can't be saved. Like I said, there is no forgiveness of judging as long as you keep doing it. But you can quit doing it. And when you quit judging people, then you're not judging people anymore. It's done. You're through with it. It's all behind. And like I said, you can be forgiven for going to bars, but you can't be forgiven for judging people. A whole bunch of people out there are doing that. They're judging people. They're saying, I go to church. These are the legalisms. I go to church. I speak in tongues. That's another one. I give 10% of my income to the church. I'm not saying it's wrong to tithe. I'm saying it's wrong to think that you're better than somebody else because you tithe. But generally speaking, I would say a great deal of people are caught in that trap. Come out of Mystery Babylon. Come out of that trap. Understand, Jesus said, or Hosea said, learn what this means. Actually, Jesus said that. Jesus told the Pharisees. In Matthew 9:13. Okay, I'm going to pause a minute and I'm going to turn to that verse and read that to you. Jesus did say that. So we're going to pause. Okay, I have turned to Matthew 9. And it says this: as Jesus passed on from there, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the tax office. Matthew was a tax collector, one of those that was hated by the Jews. And he said to him, "Follow me." So he arose and followed him. Now it happened as Jesus sat at the table in the house that, behold, many tax collectors and sinners came and sat down with him and his disciples. And when the Pharisees saw it, they said to his disciples, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" When Jesus heard that, he said to them, "Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. But go and learn what this means. I desire mercy and not sacrifice. For I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance." And this references Hosea 6:6. That's where Jesus was quoting from. I desire mercy and not sacrifice. What does it mean? Well, he was insinuating that the Pharisees who came and asked him, "Why are you hanging out with sinners and tax collectors?" We don't do that, they were saying. We're better than that. We're better than you because we would not be caught dead in the house of a tax collector where sinners and tax collectors hang out. They were judging these people. They were saying they're better than these people. And Jesus said, "I'm not looking for that. I desire mercy and not sacrifice." Another word for mercy is not judging. Judge not that ye be not judged. These guys were guilty of a heinous sin of judging other people. Why is this a heinous sin? Because a person that judges another person is actually playing God. Why are they playing God? Because, let me ask you this, who's the judge? Are we judges? No, it's not our job to judge other people. We need to have pity on them and have mercy on them. Be kind to them if possible. Sympathize with them. I desire mercy and not sacrifice. The sacrifice that he's talking about is that these guys were saying, I tithe, I go to church, I speak in tongues, I do all of these kind of things. I desire mercy and not sacrifice. Now, I'm suggesting to you out there that you go and learn what that means. Many of you are caught in the trap by one toe, or maybe you're caught by a whole foot, or maybe all of your whole body is caught in that trap. Jesus came to set at liberty the captives. And that's my effort at explaining the gospel to you today. Now, I am going to come over here and we are going to say the Lord's Prayer together, and we would like you to say it with us. And we would like you to subscribe to the channel, and I'll tell you why. Because the more people that I talk to, the more chance there is that what I'm saying will resonate with some of those people out there who are caught in the trap of legalism. And I'm calling it Mystery Babylon. All right, we're going to say the Lord's Prayer. Please say it with us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.